recorded live.
All right, how you doing, guys? It's Casey Ryan here again for the Cutting Room Floor. First time this year. This is a podcast that I started give or take about 2.5 or 3 years ago to promote independent entertainers of all types. What I like to say is that if you have a story to tell or a project to sell, I want to hear from you. We're here to promote indies from virtually any walk. If you're a filmmaker, writer, musician, stand-up comedian, I've had professional wrestlers and video game people on the show. Let me know what your stories are, and I'll help you get your word out there as best way that I can. So, as we usually like to do at the top of the show, I just sort of want to give a couple of shout-outs quickly for some people that have asked me to help them out, primarily with Kickstarter campaigns, but there's another really kind of neat mention that I have for you tonight. I'm going to talk about 3 projects very briefly. The first is Ann Lauer, who is the creator and executive producer and the tireless champ behind They Live Among Us. And this is sort of a web series that's going on theyliveamongus.com. Sort of about fallen angels and spirits and sort of a sci-fi element to it that are struggling to exist alongside humans in Los Angeles. They've done 3 episodes already. They're on Indiegogo right now, and they're trying to get 3 more produced. And I'm really excited because just over the course of the last couple of hours, Ann has agreed to be on my show in March. So we're going to very much be looking forward to having Ann Lauer on the show. But again, I want you to check it out, theyliveamongus.com, and if you can, please give. They need roughly $15,000 in the next 24 days to produce the next 3 episodes. Quality work, good web series, well worth it. The other crowdfunding campaign that I have to talk to you about tonight is sort of a hidden gem in the indie community. I had Joseph Harden on the show in December, and he was talking about his Horror Quest Film Festival in Atlanta, Georgia. Free for filmmakers to submit, free for people to attend the screenings. He doesn't charge anything. So, again, he's doing really quality work. Very well organized. He built this up from the ground up. It's a labor of love. Really just trying to get out there like I am and promoting indies in the horror genre. The horror genre has been very, very good to my show. I've said this repeatedly. So, guys, this is a little bit of a cookie for you. Look this up. He's issued a call for submissions just recently, so you can get it in there, thehorrorquest.com, and they are looking to raise a little bit of money because he wants to keep it as a free festival. This thing has grown so much in popularity over the course of just the last 2 years that he's done this that he needs to bring on additional help. He needs more theater space, all kinds of other things, so he's looking to raise a little bit of money to make sure that he can keep it as a free festival. So a noble effort indeed. Again, thehorrorquest.com, and all the best to Joe Harden. And I'm going to probably appear on the Horror Quest podcast at some point over the next few weeks, so look for that. Another is an update. The last one that I have for you tonight is an update from Tiffany Ann Price. And Tiffany was on my show about 1.5 years ago. Very talented actress, into improv and the whole bit. And she's got a one-woman show that's actually going to be in Hollywood on January 28th at the Theater Asylum, and you can find this at 6320 Santa Monica Boulevard. Tiffany A. Price is her Twitter handle, and again, this looks like it's going to be really funny. It's called Confessions of a Cat Lady, and you can find this at confessionsofacatLady.com. The tickets are only $10. It's a Saturday night. If you're in LA and you're looking to take in a bit of a comedy show, it's only an hour long. Why not go in and check this out? So again, a great update from Tiffany, and we wish you the best of luck with that. So if you have something that you want me to promote on there, shoot me an email, cuttingroomfloor.mrb@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Twitter. Anybody who knows me knows that this is a bit of a weakness with me. I'm on there like all the time, and my Twitter feed is cuttingroomMRB, or you can shoot me a friend request on Facebook. Just look for my name, Casey Ryan, and the picture's the same. So all that to say, the reason that there's a lot of you in the chat room tonight, holy jumping. So thanks a lot for stopping by on a Friday night. My guest tonight, of course, before I introduce my 2 guests tonight, I wanted to give a big, big thank you to Elizabeth Yoffe, who's the producer on the film, who was instrumental in setting this up. She was very kind enough to send me a copy of the movie. I got a DVD of it downstairs. I watched it with my wife this week. We were both blown away by it. We're going to be talking about My Big Break, which is a documentary about the darker side of fame in Hollywood. So with me tonight, I've got the director of the film, Tony Zira, and to give you a bit of a bio on him, he studied film at NYU, Texas A&M, and UCLA. His first documentary, Carving Out Our Name, follows 4 actors that were looking for success in Hollywood, and it had a very highly acclaimed premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival. Excuse me very much. And the recent one, again, of course, is My Big Break, which is a cautionary tale about the darker side of celebrity, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight. And with him tonight is one of the subjects of the documentary. I'm very proud to say this. This is sort of a last-minute addition, and I'm happy to have him here. Chad Lindberg is with us, and he's an actor from Mount Vernon, Washington. He's had guest starring roles on ER, The X-Files, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, just to name a few of the shows that he's been on. He's probably best known for a movie that I've seen more times than I care to imagine. Jesse, the whiz kid, the whiz kid car mechanic in The Fast and the Furious. This is just awesome. And another noteworthy role that he had that I also remember was Odell in October Sky. So without further ado, the Cutting Room Floor proudly welcomes Tony Zira and Chad Lindberg. How you doing, guys?
Great.
Thank you. Good, man. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So the first question that I always have for everybody is a bit of a joke. Is did I get all of your bio information right, or is that close enough for rock and roll?
You got mine pretty good?
Yeah, no, you're spot on.
Okay. So, Tony, I guess we'll start with you. For the uninitiated, what, in your words, is My Big Break really all about?
Well, I guess first I'll tell you how it started. As you know, I was living with the subjects as they were my roommates in Hollywood, and their life was fascinating enough that I decided to follow them, and I think the footage spans over 10 years with on and off filming, and I basically followed them and tortured them with the camera, and whether it was auditions or doing the laundry or cooking or talking about acting, and it was quite a story, and incredible the fact that 3 actually ended up making it out of 4, and I got to really see before, during, and after of making it in Hollywood, and so My Big Break really incorporates the whole journey with all 4, and also my journey trying to make the movie, and what really goes on in Hollywood, basically, of trying to make it in that business.
And how did the 5 of you effectively meet up? I mean, was this sort of a coincidence, or did you guys know each other prior, or how did that happen? I guess that's an open question to both of you.
I guess Chad can take that one.
Greg was living in the house first, and then I moved in after him with some other guys that were already there, and then they sort of moved out, and then I met Wes on a movie, a year before he came out to LA, and Brad moved into the house after I did, and then Tony, and it just kind of Tony came to us one day and said, "Please, I'm going to roll a camera on you guys, do a movie," and about Hollywood, and we were all on board for it. I mean, we just realized there was a story there, and we just said okay, and we let him do it, and he filmed our most intimate moments to our most highest moments to the lowest. And, a lot has gone on over the past 10 years.
Okay, I also forgot to tell you that at the time, really was only the Real World was on MTV, and really was kind of unheard of that you're just going to follow your roommates and do more of a reality thing, that follows them day and night. And people were kind of surprised about the whole concept, but somehow it it became this big, I would assume, genre now, So it was quite an interesting ride since '95, I believe.
Yeah, it was still the time where it took 10 minutes for the internet to upload.
Yeah.
We needed dial-up.
The time.
Yeah.
In the house, we didn't even have a computer. I think by the time we were done with the movie, we were one of the. We just discovered message boards where we started to have fans on it, and that was in 1999. And so we were really surprised, wow, fans and people would actually support the film. And then since then, now it's people are watching the movie online. It's shocking.
So, I mean, Tony, when you started out doing this, did you envision it? Because I've heard this from several directors that worked on documentaries, that they start with one idea in their head, but that the story ultimately reveals itself to be something else in the process of shooting. Did you have some other hypothesis in your head as to what kind of story that you wanted to tell, or did it pretty much turn out exactly, the way that you'd envision it? Like, did you think that this was going to go on for 10 years, or?
No, absolutely not. First of all, I didn't expect that 3 would make it and get like the opportunities they, just like how the story turned out. And then the second is I didn't expect it to take that long. And 3, it really was. It just went on and on and on, but also what ended up happening towards the end of the movie, as you've seen, was quite a surprise that I didn't even know myself what was going to happen. So it was really constantly more of a journey of fate, if you would call it. And it was, it's quite a ride. And that's why I'm really proud of the movie, because it was so unique. I had one concept in mind, which is to just keep filming them. And honestly, I thought, I was going to film everybody like going home or just like giving up in a sense, being frustrated, and maybe here or there we may capture somebody's one movie premiere or something like a small film. But I didn't really expect it to people go to the Oscars and people get TV deals and and multiple movies. It was just quite an amazing story.
I had one comment here that I'll throw out at you from, it looks like one of your fans here. It says, I think the film does show the darker side, but overall I think it's very inspirational. To that I'll sort of ask, were you really trying to explore the darker side more, or did you mean it to be more of an uplifting film? You mentioned that you were trying to show exactly what was going on, right?
Well, in a sense, Hollywood it's a tough place to work and to live, and especially in that business, it's very it's competitive and opportunities are like limited. So in a sense, I felt like I was already struggling in the beginning too. So I sensed that there was going to be some kind of struggle down the road, but I don't think the part of the darker side of Hollywood in a sense was there to begin with. But I knew there was going to be like tough times coming up. But in the middle of the film, the whole, probably the biggest part of it was really just great, incredible days that I would do anything to go back to those days, because they were like very dreamy and just magical. And but I think with time things change, of course, And then I think everybody now is pretty good. So it's like I'm, in this sense, it's an eye-opener, I would say.
Chad, my next question is for you. If we can switch gears a little bit. I mean, you mentioned that, moving into this house, Tony had an idea for a story, and that it all kind of came together, and you just sort of said, let's go for it. I mean, was there ever any point when you thought, or even at the beginning or anywhere during the process of filming, that you thought, maybe, you know what, I might be volunteering a little bit too much, or were you totally comfortable with it throughout the whole thing?
Totally comfortable with it. And I mean, it's very it just made sense. It made sense that this is a story that needed to be told, because there's so many stories like it in Hollywood. So I believed in it the same way that I do today, that it's a good teaching tool. We knew it was going to be a teaching tool for actors, because if you go to Hollywood, there's nothing that ever says, look, this is the way it's going to be, whether you're making it or not. It's a struggle, and it's a very tough place. There were a few times when you're like, Tony, just get the camera off, please, for just one moment, or, we'd kind of be in a mood or angry and kind of be like, all right, enough. But it was never, I don't know, I never experienced it, and nor did the other guys. We were all, I mean, as you see in the movie, we're extremely revealing, but that was our deal, too. We'd like to push the envelope, and we like to get reactions out of people. So, we knew what we were getting ourselves into, and, and we trusted Tony. There was a lot of trust.
Right.
I think the trust was the tough part. it was very tough when it came to storytelling, because you know, you had a responsibility to your characters, and you're also not just characters; these are your best friends. And also at the same time, you wanted to really be clear about the story, so you would find yourself sometimes, you know, you try to be careful not to like go, wait a minute, am I picking on one guy here and like being nice to the other ones? And you, the other interesting part, like Chad himself is he's been from the beginning like very supportive all the way to the end to date. I think for a couple of other people in the movie, it was very hard because they were very open, but they didn't really think, including myself, that this was going to go anywhere. So I think this is the area where it kind of became a little tough for us towards the end, that like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't know that this was going to be in the movie, or then the movie is going to be seen in different places. And we've all, in a sense, I don't know about Chad. Chad has been pretty good. He really did see that it was a teaching tool from the beginning. But to other people, it was a little bit too intense for them to have it out. And that's what made it a little bit tense and difficult.
And Chad, one of the very sort of simple questions, and I don't want to trivialize this, but I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are on it, because the whole film is built around, you know, the rise and things like that. Mm-hmm. But what is it like as a person to go from a small town in Washington to, you know, uprooting and going to Los Angeles and slowly working your way, and then all of a sudden people are recognizing you on the street, and you know, there you see your face on, you know, magazines and on TV. What is that like? I mean, what goes through your head when you start to see stuff like that?
It's a little bit of a jarring process. Like, it really started to happen after the Fast and the Furious. That's when life just changed. You know, I couldn't really go anywhere without anyone saying, hey, you're the guy from the Fast and the Furious. And it really, I don't know, it just changed. I mean, it changes things. And I knew it was going to happen. You just don't know when it's going to happen. And it's a bit of a trip. I've adjusted to it now. But it's an adjustment. And you know, as you see us all go through in the movie, and especially Wes, you know, I mean, I'm thankful that I've had a steady climb, you know, and I continue to have a steady climb. It's not been just one big. So, you know, and it's great that people recognize your work, and I love it when people come up and say they admire your work or, you know, love a project. But it also, fame has its other side to it. You know, the people that want to just antagonize you or, you know, talk about you as if you're not there. I mean, it's kind of fascinating to watch people's mannerisms and how they react to fame. Yeah. It's kind of fascinating.
That was Casey.
Here's a good question I got. I'm sorry, Tony.
No, go ahead. I was just going to add something to what Chad was saying that reminded me of it, which is being on the outside and like observing what was happening. I was like, even before Fast and Furious with Chad or American Beauty, etc., I already knew the guys like were working, and they really got like really huge breaks. But it's true when, like, let's say when Chad got Fast and Furious, I suddenly saw a completely different side to the recognition and fame, because it went from like, oh, you've been in this movie, to suddenly like, everywhere we went, people were like, yeah, you're Fast and Furious, you're this, you're that. And it was very, it was like another level of fame that I was kind of really thrown off by. And it's like, it just it's almost like there are layers in LA or in that business in general. And it was very interesting to watch it from the outside and not being one of the guys. So I thought that was very fascinating for me to film and to capture, you know.
I got a good question for you here from the chat room, and I like this, and I'd be interested to see what you say. The question is, have you ever been close to, you know, giving up on show business, and what keeps you motivated to stay in it?
Is that a question for Chad or for me?
For both of you.
Oh, yeah, Chad, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been plenty of times when I've been like, F this, man. I am done. I am not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
There was a time there was a time when things got really difficult for me, and this was after I got, like, famous. So it was even more challenging. You know, I couldn't pay bills. I went through a bankruptcy. It got brutal, and I had to move back home for a little bit with my family and sort of reassess. And I got a little cabin on the lake, and I worked it out, man. And then I eventually went back and sort of, like, rebuilt my career in a way. It didn't really go anywhere, but to me, I had to, like, kind of fall on my face and come back around, and now I'm in a better place than I ever have been. But everyone needs that, you know. So, yeah, there have been plenty of times when I was like, I can't do it because, you know, eventually you need to get out of L.A. every once in a while because it's a very compounding city. So you add that on top of that. There have been times when I've said I'm done. But it's who I am. I'm never going to give up on it, you know.
Well.
So I mean, what keeps you going when you're at that point where you just say the hell with this? You know, I'm going to go get a job. You know,
the work,
selling something. Yeah. I'm going to go get a regular job. You know,
just the work. I mean, your love for it. You know, the passion for what you do. I mean, you know, I can say I'm going to go and do construction or do this, but that's not who I am. Like, it's eventually going to come back around to being an actor.
Tony, what about you?
I guess for filmmakers, it's kind of different than actors. What I've learned is, in a way, it's like for filmmakers, you're stuck with a movie for a long time. We don't make money. We spend money. And that's the truth. It's a brutal bit. Like, people go, oh, come on, you make, and it's like, no, you spend money. Don't even think about making money. and that was really more my discovery in LA. But at the same time, there are a lot of different avenues, and you don't have to be in LA, especially like if you do documentaries or media work, that whether it's New York, East Coast, or Canada, etc. I think you could do so much. But I think for actors, it's really more important to be in LA, mostly, and New York, of course. So there are a lot of different things, whether you edit something on the side or do some media work. I mean, you also have some options. So they're both horrible and they're both great.
So do you still keep in touch? Here's another question for you. Do you still keep in touch with the other guys?
Is that for Chad or Tony?
Again, a question to both of you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, sure. It's like Facebook is wonderful, and it's not the same. You know, it's almost like very interesting. You saw the movie, and it's almost to me like this sacred thing that happened, of like having this privilege to film that whole journey then, and it's almost like I'm in touch with people, but that part of the whole journey in LA was very, very intense. That it's almost like I'm just content having that. But, you know, I care and love every single one of them, but it's almost like the distance, I think, also made it very difficult for us to kind of be in touch very much. Except with Chad. Chad comes here occasionally to Boston on his, he tours with Supernatural and does conventions and stuff like that. But I really haven't seen the rest of the guys in a while now.
Yeah, I also want to say here, Chad, we got a lot of feedback in here. You got a lot of Supernatural fans in the chat room tonight, so you know, all saying really, really cool things about that series. So.
That's awesome. What's up, Supernatural fans? I love you dearly. Shouldn't you be watching the show right now? Isn't it on? That's awesome. I love that they're taking the time out to listen to me and that they rock.
Supernatural, they've been like the best fans we've had for the documentary too. So super grateful for these.
Very, very powerful fan base. Very. That's quite the What's that, Tony?
They are really like seriously like devoted fans.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're very devoted.
It's the best kind of fans to have, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where can people go to learn more about it, or do you have a copy of the movie available for purchase? And I also understand that we had this discussion briefly offline, that you're doing something different fairly soon, and from what I understand, to make it available to audiences outside the United States, right?
Exactly. We do have the movie on Amazon as we speak, but it's also on Amazon Instant Video, and it's also available on our website. But for people that like to instantly watch the movie, some people have been having a hard time, or I guess you really can't go to Amazon.com and watch it. So we will have internationally, I mean by that. So we will have it probably by tomorrow available on our website where people could download and watch the film right away. And if people just want to be notified, all they have to do is go to the site and just go under the contact and just send us their name or email, and we'll just let them know once it's up.
Okay, this is really cool. I like this question. And Chad, I'll address this primarily to you because I think that this affects you the most.
Okay.
So speaking of devoted fans, how do you feel about the amount of information that fans have access to now? And does it bother you that they have such an impact?
Mm.
Good question.
Okay, repeat the question for me, I'm sorry.
Okay, so how do you feel about the amount of information that fans have access to about you now? In the information age, basically, everybody's got cameras on their phones and they can videotape everything. And
I feel pretty comfortable with the access. I mean, I put a lot of my own access out there for people. I'm generally very I like to share my life and let them know what's happening. We do live in a different age where now it's I'll be out and about and people would just start picking up their phones and recording you, or they recognize you, so they'll get on their phones to check and see if you're that guy. So it's a different time, and for that you got to be on your guard a little bit because 96-7% of the people out there are going to be cool. You have that little percent that's just not, and it's going to take it too far. So you kind of have to watch it. But for the most part, it's interesting to see how this is transpired into cell phones and Twitter and all of this social networking, and it's crazy.
Tony, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I wish I had a cell phone back then with a camera on it.
Just one more angle for you, Tony.
Yep.
Just one more,
I would literally had phone glued to my shoulders and back, and which I did in a different way. I just had cameras hooked everywhere, but yeah, it would have been great. No, I think people also Chad himself already is used to being watched on camera at home and outside, just also because of the documentary. So I think he's well prepared, and he's just really an audience. He just loves the audience, and I think that really is who he is. Actually, after we finished the early cut of carving, when we put the message board, we at the time, Brad had his movies out, American Beauty was out, Chad had Fast and Furious, and the number one person that was bombarded with audience was Chad, and the audience just loved him. So he's a good guy. I'll keep him in this cut. I won't keep him out.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you. We should work together.
So what are your next projects? And Tony, one of the questions I had a couple of times in the chat room here is, are you still filming? Have you got anything going right now? What are you working on right now? I'm more working on a book, which is part of it is biographical about just the whole journey in Hollywood. We're also we have a bunch of stuff that we're doing with tour with the movie. In a sense, we're doing a lot of conventions on fame and celebrity and Hollywood, and we're getting involved with the discussion in universities, etc. So we're just focusing on the end of it. And but no, I'm not filming Big Break anymore. Thank you. I'm away from that project now. I think I put enough years in there. Well, yeah, it's a long time, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it surprises me every time I look at the years. I go, you got to be kidding. It's I've seen these guys and they were like, wearing diapers. Come on.
Don't he gets the award for sticking it out, man. I mean, he rode that thing all the way through till his head almost exploded, and then he got blue in the face. I mean, like, I can't imagine. You're dealing with such intense thing. I mean, it was our lives, and it was just, we were all so close, and some of the best days of my life. So to keep reliving that and having to relive that until 10 years later, my hat goes off to you, Tony.
Thank you.
Stuck here with you guys. I'm just going to run a couple of minutes long here because there's one person, Chad, is a big fan of yours from the looks of things, and asking if there's a story that you care to volunteer, a funny story that happened on set of Supernatural that you might be willing to share.
Funny story on the set of Supernatural. Let me think. I always go to the one where I had to film. They go and knock on Ash's door, and I open the door and I'm naked. That was a special day. I had to wear a little skin color song, and every time I would open the door, Jared and Jensen would basically crack up. So it took us a while to actually get those shots. That was special. We had so much fun on this show. Jared and Jensen really make it such an amazing atmosphere, along with the crew and the other cast. They're like the coolest people in the world, and there's a lot of laughs. Jared and Jensen are always, when the coverage comes around on you, they're like making faces, trying to get you to laugh during your take, and I love that because it kind of keeps you. You kind of have to be quick too, you know what I mean? And it's a challenge. But yeah, it's awesome.
And what are you working on next? I mean, have you got any projects going that you're able to talk about?
Yeah, I have a movie coming out this year called I, Alex Cross. It's the next Rob Cohen movie, who directed The Fast and the Furious. Tyler Perry's in that movie. I have a little part in there. Pretty excited. I also did a movie called Decoding Annie Parker with Helen Hunt and Samantha Morton and Aaron Paul. It's a true story about breast cancer, so I'm really proud of that. And I just, actually, your listeners, I heard you talking about horror and stuff like that. I just released I have a vampire character called Uncool Vampire Blogger, and we just released a 20-minute sort of short on Funny or Die, and it's getting really great feedback. So that's what's going on.
Awesome. What can I tell you guys? This has been a lot of fun. One last time, I want to go around for both of you here. Where can people go to learn more? Chad, do you have a site that you can direct people to if they want to follow your work at all?
I should. I should have it at chadlindberg.com, but I don't quite yet. The best place to find me is on Twitter. Facebook, a little overwhelming, but Twitter, I'm always on it, and I respond to my fans a lot. So that's the best place to find me.
And what's your Twitter handle?
At Chad Lindberg.
At Chad Lindberg, huh? Okay, yep. Great. Right, and Tony, again, one more plug for the My Big Break site, and where people can go and learn more about your work.
Well, we are at Twitter. We'll be like at My Big Break, and on Facebook, it's My Big Break Group. And thanks to Elizabeth, she's the one that really makes this happen. And of course, MyBigBreakMovie.com is where you'll find pretty much everything about the movie, including where you could see it.
I just want to say here, guys, like I said, I had a blast watching this week. Anybody that's in the movies at all or that's interested in sort of an insider's, look as to what life is like, should really take a look at this. There's a common misconception out there that, like myself, when you're watching these things that, movies are all just sort of glitz and glamour, and they, you overlook the hard part of it and the grind part of it that goes along with actually trying to get to that point to be able to enjoy it. And I think that you guys really, hit the nail on the head there, and it's going to be an eye opener for a lot of people, but it's also going to be an inspirational and an educational tool too. So
thank you very much. Thank you for watching it and believing in it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It means a lot.
Any closing thoughts before we shut this down, guys?
Please go ahead.
Well, thank you for everybody tuning in and listening to our story. It's much appreciated. Watch the movie.
So that's going to about do it for us tonight. I just wanted to thank my guests, Tony Zera and Chad Lindberg, for taking time out of their busy schedules tonight. And again, to Elizabeth Yoffe, the producer, for having helped set this up. I'm going to be back again on Sunday at my usual time at noon, and I'm going to be talking with the guys from Sneaky Zebra. This is sort of another group that's a recent Twitter addiction with me. They've got a horror short going called The Good, the Bad, and the Undead, so this is going to be kind of fun to talk to them. So, again, until then, on behalf of my guests, Tony Zera and Chad Lindberg from My Big Break, even listen to Casey Ryan on the cutting room floor. Cut, print, wrap, and I am done.